It's commonly thought that Britain no longer has a car industry. The days when Austin Healey and MG were the envy of the world are long behind us. And as for British Leyland, well, that didn't end well, did it? In fact, 21st century car manufacturing in the UK is something of a success story. It turns out we Brits are really rather good at it.
In 2012, UK car factories produced nearly 1.5 million vehicles, exporting over 82% of them. British car factories also built almost 2.5 million engines, with 62% of them going abroad.
The UK automotive industry generates £55 billion in annual turnover into the UK economy.
The UK automotive industry generated £27 billion worth of revenue for the UK throughout 2011. This is by far the UK's largest export. In a typical year, we export to 100 countries worldwide. This accounts for 11% of all exports from the UK.
The UK has 7 volume car manufacturers, 8 major premium sport car manufacturers, 8 Formula One teams and more than 100 specialist brands.
Still think Britain no longer has a car industry? Of course, none of the significant car makers are British owned these days. But does that really matter in the modern global economy? Staff are employed, taxes are paid, local suppliers are able to do business. So we're going to celebrate the great British car industry by visiting some of the most notable car plants in the UK to see how they're thriving and drive some of the cars they make. We're starting our journey at the biggest car manufacturer in the UK and one of the most productive in Europe, Nissan's Sunderland plant. This factory built over 500,000 cars last year, which works out at 2,000 cars a day, or 2 cars off each of the production lines every minute. Last year, the Sunderland plant built 154,759 Dukes, and this is the car that we're going to take on the first leg of our journey. We're heading to Liverpool for our next destination. The shortest route will take us down the A1M and then across the M62. But as this is an ignition drive story, we're going to take a more interesting route. We're heading across the Yorkshire Dales. So as the sun sets, on the end of our first day, we've reached our destination of Liverpool.
Here we are at the Halewood factory, home of the Range Rover Evoque. 100,000 were built here last year, and one comes off the production line every 82 seconds. The factory is in fact so busy it's now at full capacity with 24-hour production, the first time in its 50-year history. At first glance, the Evoque seems very much like a lifestyle car. The jewellery on the exterior is pretty blingy, and the interior is premium and plush. So far, so wag. But it's a Land Rover, which means it can do the business in mud, snow and sand almost as well as any other Landy. It's a quintessentially British car, which becomes more and more apparent when you're driving it in an environment like the Peak District, which we're driving through at the moment. We're now approaching our next port of call, the Toyota plant in Burnaston.
Welcome to Burnaston, and welcome to the future of sustainable car production. The factory opened in 1992, and since then its output and its workforce has steadily expanded to such an extent that last year over 109,000 cars were produced here. In 2010, the Auris Hybrid went into production, and that's the car we'll be driving on the next leg of our journey. But building greener cars isn't the end of Toyota's commitment to sustainability. This solar array behind me is just one example of how the company is trying to limit its impact on the environment even before its cars hit the road. It seems entirely appropriate that a car factory that works so hard to reduce its impact on the environment should build a car that does just the same. So this Auris Hybrid is the perfect model to drive to our next destination.
We're here at Plant Oxford, home of one of the most iconic cars in Britain, the Mini. Plant Oxford is celebrating 100 years of car making in 2013. Now the home to Mini, 5 of the brand's models are built here. It has been producing cars since the 2-seat Morris Oxford, known as the Bullnose Morris, first rolled off the line in 1913. Since the year 2000, around £1.5 billion has been invested in Mini manufacturing here in the UK. Over 11.6 million cars have been built here in Oxford in the last 100 years. Back in 1913, 20 cars a week would come off the production line. Today, a Mini comes off the production line every 68 seconds. Our trip may only be a short hop through the beautiful Cotswolds, but the country roads are perfect for putting the Mini through its paces. What could be more British?
If you thought Mini was retro, then these guys are positively prehistoric. Morgan is one of the sole remaining independently owned British sports car makers that's been building cars on this site since 1913. Today the company just goes from strength to strength, employing 180 people and building 1,300 cars annually, with 70% of that stock going overseas. To conclude our great British journey, we're going to be driving a brand new version of the first car Morgan made back in 1910. This is the Morgan three-wheeler. If you're a car person, driving the three-wheeler may as well be listed as a cultural event. Practically speaking, there are a few issues, but I really couldn't care less.